We're starting today's show about 1 day and 15 minutes late. The last 15 minutes were because my computer was frozen, but the last day was because Nate was frozen. Like, Nate, the human being. He's thawed out, so has all the technology. I think it's time to talk about what ended up being a pretty weird, pretty cold game.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
We're all here, Seth Keysor, Nate Taylor, and myself, Joshua Brisco, as the Chiefs advance to the divisional round. But first and foremost, Nate, I think this entire community right now is wondering one thing, which was how cold was it in the press box? Maybe the second thing of, did you see Taylor Swift? And also, does that snow out your window, Seth? You're probably handling this transition well. We'll let Nate go first, and then you can go through the Job-like experience that you had flying from Florida to Minnesota.
No, I did not see Taylor Swift in the flesh on Saturday. Unfortunately, she made a swift entry, you could say, into the stadium. In terms of what the press box felt like, I sit on the second level. Obviously, you've been there, Josh. You've been there as well, Seth. The best view, I could argue, is the first level, which is further down, next to the giant glass.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty frozen on the first level because the heat couldn't necessarily get there. Now, thankfully, I went and saw my guy Anwar and his crew, and we were in a tent pregame. This was before I tweeted the photo of a patron who made the executive choice to wear Chuck Taylor's to a football game where kickoff was -4.
Yeah.
The tent, Anwar's tent, Anwar and his crew, shout out to them, got their tent to 45 degrees.
Wow.
And it felt glorious.
Mm.
I wore multiple socks. I wore snow boots. My feet were still freezing on that concrete and Arrowhead. So the last way I'll sum this up is, people could think, hey, you get to cover the game. It's a dream job. You get to talk to some of the best athletes on the planet. All those things are true. The real work starts after you talk to the players and the coaches and the support staff. And I write my story for The Athletic to recap what we all just witnessed. But that takes time, kids. That takes a lot of time, which meant I left Arrowhead around 1:30, 1:40 in the morning, which meant it was negative like 21, I believe, at that point.
Mm.
The wind is indiscriminate.
The Arrowhead parking lot wind is the worst.
With no cars, no people
No
left.
cars. No, I've done that a few times.
All that's left is the reporters and the truck, the Peacock NBC trucks, the guys who are taking things and dismantling them, all the equipment that it takes to broadcast an NFL game. The wind does not care. There's nothing to block it. I had on multiple layers.
There aren't enough layers. One more layer, what was it going to do? Nothing.
The sheer, giving upness in your voice.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to be a one-upper, but I'm going to be eventually here.
Okay.
I want you to imagine if you looked in the forecast
Yeah.
and you saw that it's going to be like that tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Next day.
And the next day. And the next day for a solid week. The worst it's ever done. We kept track. It was not last winter, the winter before.
Hey,
we
at least
had
they
a 2-week stretch where
hey.
it didn't get above 0 once.
Hey, at least they not playing football up there.
Yeah. They got a nice, cozy dome here in Minnesota. And you see why.
Well, they don't use that in January anyway, so it's
Oh, you know what? My family.
So
Yeah, I'm
unnecessary.
sorry.
Babe, was that
Yeah.
Was that KJ who dropped the ball? Was that KJ? Babe, was that KJ?
I do want to say, so I'm back in Minnesota. No longer in Florida. People can make jokes about my road setup being better than my home setup. And so Florida weather wasn't as amazing as it normally is. They had like a cold snap themselves, but I still had multiple 70-degree days. It was great. Saw some dolphins. So the day we got back, I flew into the Hector International Airport. Shout out to them. Great airport in Fargo, North Dakota. Now, those of you who have never traveled to North Dakota, there, like what you were describing, like there is nothing to block the wind. That's the whole state. That's just like that's just how it works. Like when you're driving on I-94 east to west in North Dakota, there are stretches where you are 2 hands on the wheel at all times because you are going to have to get a gust that's like whoa, and you start going off the road. So the day we went in, it was -13 in Fargo, and I didn't even look up the wind to real feel because I had to go to get my car. And I walked out, and I mean, it was like,
oh, West Texas, but if the map was in reverse,
yeah, if the map flipped it,
yeah, if the map was 180,
King.
Oh,
but it was great. And so the reason I was even that feeling that I got, because I had parked in the economy lot, because by God, I wasn't gonna pay $20 a night to park my car.
Correct.
I was gonna pay like $8, which was very cheap. Great airport. But man, that's like a 300-yard walk, which 300 yards doesn't sound like that far.
Oh, it's far.
So I tried to jog it, and you can't jog in -13.
You
So
just
really
can't.
Yeah, you take a breath, you're like, and it's fine. And I didn't have my cold weather blood wasn't with me. I had all this warm, weak Florida blood in me. And so I got to the Yukon. It started
amazingly.
by like a miracle. You know, everyone who's, there's no proof God exists. My Yukon started. Boom. And so
we can go home. Hallelujah. In a warm vehicle.
Yes.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah, and so I got out and started it, and then I went out and got it and picked everyone up because that's the job. That's what you do. That's what you sign up for.
Yep.
If you want to call yourself the man of the house, you can't make your teenager do it. Man, did I want to make my teenager do it, though. I was like, man, if I tell him to, he's got to do it. I can't do that. Jazz will be mad. So anyway, by the time
I gotta watch all the bags. I just can't. I can't let your mom and then all you kids just stand with the bags.
Take these. Yeah.
I gotta stand guard.
So,
here's the keys.
By the time I got out there for the 3rd or 4th time, I'm a veteran at this. I grew up in North Dakota and Minnesota. I only spent 3 years down in the Kansas City area. Kansas City's warm to me. It generally is. Although once you're at 0 and below, that's legit cold. There is no northern snobbery about how cold Saturday's game was. So I'm going to tie all this together because by the time I was like 3 or 4 times going in and out, I was like, okay, because I was only wearing a hoodie because I didn't want to bring a coat with me. And that was cold. But, you start to get used to it. It's like, okay, I remember this. My body remembers this. But here's the thing. I've had 38 years to acclimate to this. That feeling that you had, Nate, walking through, and there's just no respite. And even when you're warm, you can't get warm. And then when your hands start to warm up and it hurts, and you're just like, oh my goodness, warming up is worse. That vibe, the first moment Isaiah Pacheco hit someone, you saw it in the Dolphins defense. They wanted nothing to do with any of it, and the Chiefs were just playing like a bunch of honorary Minnesotans, just flying around like maniacs. And the Dolphins the only one out there who wanted any of it was Tyreek Hill. And shout out to Tyreek. I think he tried. He got punched in the face a lot, and he never quit. But the rest of them, you saw the first Pacheco carry. I was like, oh, those guys don't want to tackle today. Because it hurts, man. It hurts. And anytime, if you think like 20 degrees and 0 degrees are the same thing, are 90 degrees and 70 degrees the same thing?
Nope.
Because it's not even close. Everything hurts. And, well, you just go to the sideline and warm up. That hurts. Warming up hurts. And so now you're hurt, and then you go out, and that hurts, and it all just hurts, and there's no respite. And, it's just, and you could see it in Miami. And for some reason, I don't know what the Chiefs did to their players, because I didn't see a single one of them that seemed like were not just having the time of their lives out there.
And you even have examples across the NFL. You could see the tackling effort with the Chiefs and Dolphins. You could see the tackling effort from the Steelers in Buffalo. And weirdly, you could see it from the Philadelphia Eagles in frigid Tampa Bay. I'm not sure. That one might not fit. I just know none of those 3 teams wanted to tackle.
Yeah. Bradbury, Where's he going? He's running right by you, son. He's
going
running right by you. The last thing I'll say about the weather is it's the first time I've left Arrowhead and walked to my car backwards.
Oh yeah,
Huh.
That's a savvy veteran move though.
Savvy
that
move.
Wind on your face.
The wind.
That is something else. And this
Dude.
is like, man, I appreciate you, Devin Albertson, mind over matter. But I tell you what, the Chiefs had been living in pretty frigid temperatures, and there's nothing else. You cannot force your brain to deal with it if you're not acclimated. Miami, I swear, this is like a high altitude game, and I really believe this. Once you get 0 and below, although let me just tell you, we have had days last winter where it was -30 without wind chill, and that hits even different. That was scary. That was really scary, actually.
Yeah.
But you gotta acclimate to it. You can't fly in the day before. That was a terrible decision.
It honestly, when you look back, it really was because, there's just no way to simulate it. And I walked hundreds of feet backwards. Just give a quick glance and keep it moving.
Make sure you don't trip over a frozen solid piss bucket.
Yeah.
Or body. Or body, I guess.
Is that? Yeah. Whoa! Do the local authorities know about this? Thankfully, I didn't see any injuries. Although
we're still good on this, right? I keep making sure. I keep checking in. It's Tuesday now, and I feel like if there was real bad news, we would have heard. I know some people got some attention for some frostbite and stuff, and that
hypothermia.
I expected that.
Hypothermia is real.
But as far as we all know, everybody ultimately made it out all right. Which, good job, everybody. And if we get any bad news at any point, these jokes were all made before we found out any bad news.
Correct. So,
except for the frozen piss bucket, that I'll joke about forever because just the amount of frozen urine in that parking lot has to be absolutely revolting.
I saw so.
What happens when it thaws?
I found so many frozen, like bursted cans of beer. Definitely saw that. Saw some coal that looked like it wasn't coal anymore.
It's a great thing about walking your dog in that weather. Immediate. It's like, this is the time, by the way, Kansas Cityans with dogs, this is the time. Get out there, clean it up. You could, now don't, because it's still kind of gross. You can pick that up with your bare hand, and it's a poop
watch it. Yeah.
Now don't. Again, it's gross, but you
Seth
could.
just said to pick up a poopsicle with your bare hands. Yeah. That's what just happened. Really did. That's where he ended up today?
So look, I mean, I respect Mike McDaniel because he was the only supervising adult after the game that said, we're crazy. Like you get that, right? We're all crazy. His quote in essence was, we just did something crazy. Our season is over and you have to be a crazy person or you have to go to a crazy place to try to play football with your season on the line in that kind of weather, which brings me to the point that cannot be forgotten. Kids, he doesn't need to prove another thing to you all. He doesn't have to do anything. I know he's about to go on a new journey in his 7-year career. He ain't got to prove anything to you guys. Seth, did he throw a bad pass Saturday in constant windy conditions and negative temperatures? The coldest game he's ever played in his career. Did he throw a bad pass? Because I'm not sure he threw a bad pass.
I haven't charted him yet, but I'm not thinking off the top of my head. He had a couple to McCole Hardman that didn't land near McCole Hardman.
But that's more of the receiver.
There were some other things happening, which McCole Hardman going the route just and I apologize for dragging this.
No, it's okay.
But McCole Hardman
going, it only explains how great the quarterback is.
He thought he was a defensive end calling for a hold, and like he just quit mid route. Like my wife's watching, and Jazz watched pretty much every minute of this game with me, which is rare, and she had the greatest quote on Mahomes. And I'll come to that whenever we want to praise how Mahomes did. If it's now, I didn't see like a bad throw. The one to Hardman, the early one, should have been a touchdown. That's 6. He lost it. It happens. Arrowhead lights are tough. The other one, you're not a defensive end calling for a hold. You got to finish the route, man. Even if you're not going to get it. Because Jazz turns me, she's like, is he supposed to just quit during the middle of the play? I was like, he is not. No. That was an astute question. Another great Jazz quote just about Patrick Mahomes. That 4th down scramble conversion in the first half, which, by the way, was when I knew the game was – well, no, I knew the game was over after that first Pacheco run. I was like, nope, This is just never gonna happen. And Spags. That
Oh, we're
dude,
gonna get
son
to
of a
him.
gun.
Woo. Woo.
Jazz looks at me after that scramble, that fourth down scramble where, he just did things.
Uh-huh.
It's like, oh man, we need 4 yards real bad. Would 30 be enough? And it just, I love this angry drunken German who always has just the best quotes. Mahomes is unreasonably good.
Yes.
He's unreasonably good. So Jazz turns to me and because I was just like, holy cow, with this scrum. She goes, she's like, I know he technically needs the other 10 guys out there, but, and I was like, I know. And it was such a great commentary. And it was like, technically he does need those 10 other humans on the field.
I mean, Donovan Smith hasn't been here in like a month and he just showed up today.
Yeah. Donovan Smith's like, well, and to be fair, man, could you tell the Dolphins, there's so many storylines here. Boy, could you tell the Dolphins were down pass rushers, and their only good pass rusher left is on the interior, and Trey Smith was like, I'm going to erase Joe Tooney, too.
Yeah.
We're just awesome against him. Creed was great against him. But really, you saw what happens to a team that cannot get pressure on Mahomes with 4 guys, because when they rushed 4, he was flat-footed in the pocket. He's just standing there kind of looking around. Even he looked surprised. And then, we got to blitz him. Well, gee, hold on. Let me use my time machine to travel back in time, like 4 years when Mahomes started becoming immune to blitzes, and that's where it just, honestly, the Dolphins are lucky they didn't lose by 40, and they were a couple of Chiefs kind of boneheaded mistakes away. Like that was as comprehensive a beatdown as what happened earlier that day. It was just done in a ridiculous climate, and that kind of messed with things. Travis Kelce, you know what? He played like he wanted to be there, but a couple of his drops, that was like them old bones, man. The cold hits different.
Was the Mahomes technically needs the other 10 guys out there Jazz's magnum opus of the Mahomes take, or is there yet another Jazz Mahomes take?
That was the magnum opus.
Okay.
And Jazz is not a football fan. She loves me, I think. She at least fakes it really well, so that's all that really counts. And so she will watch football and try to be interested, but for her to be like, that guy is just different from everyone else out there, and he genuinely doesn't seem like he needs a team. And it's such a good quote on Mahomes to combine with the unreasonably good. It's genuinely not fair. When I did the video, like the agony of Mahomes, I called it, where there was like Pavarotti singing, I can't remember what it's called in the background, the really sad opera, and a bunch of defenders grabbing their heads and gesturing and getting mad after he does ridiculous things. That's Patrick Mahomes. He's unreasonably good. It's actually not fair.
So then let's go ahead and let's stay on the offensive side since we're here, and since Jazz's analysis has brought us right up to the yard marker. What's the most impressive thing that you guys saw from this Chiefs offense in this game? Because I've got a button to put on each side of the ball with the overarching Mahomes success. Seth, where do you go for here? So we also have to acknowledge we haven't mentioned it yet. Next up is the Bills.
Yeah.
Buffalo is next, who's also banged up on defense. And I think their front four is in better shape, but I think there may be some corollaries in these games that has me like beginning to talk myself into a Chiefs win that I was not expecting to talk myself into at this point 2 weeks ago. So Seth, what's the most meaningful step that you saw from the Chiefs offense? Because even if Mahomes only kind of needs the other 10 guys, we've seen those 10 guys let him down quite a bit this year.
Right. I think the most meaningful thing
will be right after the break.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
I know you guys don't realize it, but you are getting harder to do that too, just because you give away all the good stuff. I was waiting for you to say all the other stuff Jazz said, and then I was like, all right, Seth, no, you said you'd let us figure out if we wanted to hear it right away or not. Tell us, what did Jazz say that changed the way you viewed football forever? But so instead, I just had to go ahead and do it myself the old-fashioned way. My question stands, though. It was a real question. It wasn't a fake question. I actually do want to talk about all that.
Hey, angry drunken German. I'll tell you what. I'm okay with going hunting. Does it have to be with Dick Cheney? I mean, I'm not gonna. I'm not.
Comment. What is the original comment? If that's the answer,
You could go with Alec Baldwin.
what's going on?
I mean,
Sorry.
Angry drunken German said Nate looks ready to go hunting with Dick Cheney, and I just have to respond that. Does it have to be Dick?
That is some great flannel. You look like you are doing home improvement with Tim Taylor back in the day. You look like you, my friend,
Why, thank
could
you.
reasonably frame up that door for me.
Yes, why, thank you.
And make sure to shimmy that in just right.
Yeah.
And
Any
make sure the
faucets
door
you need
open and closes
tightened?
like a dream. Yeah, that you are ready. My bathroom needs some remodeling, and you are the man who could do that for me while your zany sidekick destroys everything in grunts.
Now look, it's gonna look, our estimate, we're just a tick off, okay? It's gonna be a little higher.
Yes.
And look, we're here. We're already here. You want the service. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do you right. We're gonna do you right. We just need about 20 more supplies and about 30 more men.
Yeah.
And give us about 6 more weeks, and
Yeah,
it'll
that's
be
why we
just
call it a quote.
it'll be just it's just a quote, like
No.
I can't predict how the weather's going to affect the job, And look, your wife is adding more things because I've talked her into doing that.
Yeah,
And the quote, the quote's just a starting point.
She was originally okay with ash. Now she wants oak. I mean,
Correct.
These things happen.
These things happen. And look, just think about how you're going to feel when it's all done. Just think about how it's going to look.
You're going to walk in.
Yeah, I mean,
and
it's
you're
gonna be
walk from work because you're gonna need to sell your car.
Right.
But
and look, this is a place where after you come off the range with a few ducks in your hand, you can have a nice dinner with Dick Cheney, who lives just over there.
Who's right there?
Right over there. Dick Cheney, big guy. Big guy.
So Josh is back.
Does it have to be Dick? You said, Nate. You said, does it have to be Dick?
He's asking about Dick Cheney. So
I thought it was a fair question or fair statement.
we thought that Josh was reading the comments. He wasn't.
He wasn't.
And so
hey, everybody! Josh listens to the show. How about that? Hey,
Josh is paying attention while Nate and I are just staring. These words keep popping up, and they're
Levi
meant for
says
us.
saw the break coming from a mile away. It was like Matthew McConaughey in Interstellar. Don't answer, Seth.
No, I honestly, just so everyone knows, this is not, I'm not faking it. He keeps getting me, and that's why it's legitimately driving me crazy. Gosh.
All right, Chiefs offense. What you got, Seth? What
Yes,
jumped out
so
to you on the tape,
Chiefs
on the
offense-
tizzle, on the reel?
I would love to say that it's the offensive line because they dominated the game. And
They did.
Let me just say, if the Chiefs' offensive line has games like that moving forward, like
Woo,
every performance,
that's a
they're
problem.
winning the
That's a
Super
problem.
Bowl.
That's a
Like,
problem for everybody. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Barring another team putting up 40, they're winning the Super Bowl.
Hey,
if the O-line, but
Donovan Smith moved people.
he did.
It was
He moved
wild.
He got out in space in the run game.
Whoa!
I was very impressed.
Trey
But I
Smith was
can't-
flawless. Creed Humphrey was just
Oh, they
great
were-
outside of one, ice snap, just an icicle snap.
Yeah. And Trey had a hold. It was a hold.
It was a
But
hold.
He tried. It was either the play was going to be like a stuff. So I want to say the offensive line, but the better thing that I think is going to be more applicable moving forward was the narrowing of the offense to where Andy Reid. He basically, it was a very high school cafeteria. Some people can sit here and everyone else, you can sit at the next table. No, you can't sit at the next table. You can sit at the third table. But the guys at this table are Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, and Isaiah Pacheco. This is where the cool kids are sitting. We might let some people come over and talk to us for a minute. But like if you linger, it's going to be weird for everyone. Like, hey, Justin Watson, yeah, you came here for a second. You're going to go sit back over there, right? Like, you're not going to. And that, they narrowed it down. And with that, they had to expand Rashee Rice's role. Because he had multiple catches that were not bubble screens or like a quick hitch or whatever. And he responded. It's kind of normally what Andy Reid says, there's a lot of coach speak there, but when he says at every step of the way, Rashee Rice has taken an expanded role and done more with it, you've seen it. And he's done well with it. And that's not easy to do. Most guys, he was like up there in the top of the league in like yards per route run and stuff early in the year. But normally when you increase the amount of targets someone's getting, that efficiency naturally drops. And with Rice, he just keeps going. So that's the biggest thing, is the narrowing and the expanding. The narrowing of who the guys are, and everyone else is a bit player. Richie James, you'll get 1 or 2 targets. McCole Hardman, we'll see if you get a couple targets next game. I don't know. Dang it, I wish he would have. At least he showed he can separate deep, though.
He did.
It's like, at least that's on film. Now, whether that's
Except for when he's getting held, and then he actually can't, but that's understandable. It should be a penalty.
Yeah. Well, no, that should have 1,000,000% been a penalty. But like they did, Justin Watson had his one great catch. And it was a great catch.
It's a great catch.
It's like, man, I don't know why they ever run Watson any routes besides outbreakers deep, because he can catch things that are just unbelievable over there.
Justin Watson's only route should be throw yourself at the sideline and the ball will be out of bounds. Your feet will be on green, and we're going to go ahead and take about 10 yards out of it. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what it has to be. Now we'll see how the Bills respond to the narrowing and the expanding. Do the Bills game plan around, because you can always say, well, we're going to think about this guy and this guy and this guy. There's always one, right? Now Mahomes is the one. So I'm sorry. There's always one weapon.
Yep.
And it's always Travis Kelce for this season.
And the Dolphins played defense specifically for him, and yet it didn't work.
Yeah, which was unfortunate for them. Vic Fangio is a great defensive coordinator, but he does need his guys. He did not have his guys.
You mentioned it earlier. I've never blamed a defensive coordinator less for blitzing Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
because I don't know, man. Blitzing Mahomes doesn't work. Sending you, me, and Justin Houston at him in 2024 also wasn't going to work. I mean, right. So that's not a negative mark on my Vic Fangio memories, because man, dude was cooking with nothing in the pantry.
he had zero options, because again, the plays where Mahomes dropped back and they rushed 4, it just didn't work. I mean, he was going to, all right, there's 1, 2, 3 up. I guess I go to the backside. 1, 2. I've gone through 5 reads. No one's open. I could scramble, but I don't really need to. I wonder if Brittany's doing okay up there. Is she kind of cold? Like, you could just see him just like, man, I'm glad we didn't bring Sterling to this one. That would have been way too cold. Oh, I should probably throw the ball. Hey, Trav came open. There he is. Like, you can't win games that way. So you start blitzing. Well, the problem when Mahomes knows a blitz is coming, one thing I didn't like what they were doing is they were sending 6 guys, but they were bringing them in from the secondary. And it takes too long, because what Mahomes is going to do, he's just going to drift back, and you got to sack him 25 yards behind the line of scrimmage, but it's bought all this time, and he just bloop over your head. Yep. So that's my big takeaway from the offense. Obviously, red zone stuff's still an issue, but the big positive takeaway was that narrowing to the guys. They've got 3 dudes on offense, and they ran through them.
Hey, Josh, can I stat you down?
I was going to stat you up, actually. So I was going to say, Nate, I can stat you up. You want to stat me down?
Yeah, let me stat you down before you stat me back up.
All right.
The Chiefs, on their first 24 plays, so this obviously is the opening script and a little beyond. On the first 24 plays, 21 were either a Isaiah Pacheco handoff.
I like Isaiah Pacheco. That you had it, actually.
Pacheco. Of the let me restart. On 21 of the first 24 plays of the game for the Kansas City Chiefs were either a handoff to Isaiah Pacheco or a target to Travis Kelce or Rashee Rice. 21 of the first 24 plays. That's playoff football right there.
Yes, it is.
And that's knowing your personnel and saying, boys, we all we got. We's all we got, and we need to get it done. So on these first 15, you're getting all the touches, all the targets. And it worked to their credit. It worked to the Chiefs coaching staff credit. But I wouldn't be surprised if they lean into that even more this upcoming week, because having 3 viable options is enough for Patrick Mahomes. That's kind of what was proven on Saturday. Stab me up, Josh.
First of all, whenever you set up Isaiah Pachecoff's in the first quarter, you got to pay him off by the third quarter. Everyone knows that about Pachecoff's gun. That's really important. Secondarily, these are just like big counting stat numbers, but they are absolutely egregious when you take the time to look at them. So Patrick Mahomes throws 41 passes in this game. 12 targets to Rashee Rice, 10 to Travis Kelce, 3 to McCole Hardman, actually. He only caught the 1 for 3. But then nobody else even had 3 targets. Again, that was Hardman, and really, we're just, let's say one of those penalties gets called, that never goes down as a target. We are talking about 2 targets for anybody not named Rashee Rice or Travis Kelce, and then 24 carries for Isaiah Pacheco. That was also my big takeaway from the offensive side. This is a 4-man offense, 3 weapons, Patrick Mahomes, and, the offensive line as a unit. But I think at some point, if they're going to beat the Ravens, some wide receiver will have to make a play who's not named Rashee Rice. Someone's going to have to do that. Didn't have to happen against Miami. Might not have to happen against Buffalo with where their defense is at right now. They are literally running practice squad linebacker. They are called up practice squad linebacker, led the team in tackles yesterday. They were hit in his first defensive snaps of 2023-4.
Wow.
That's not super ideal.
No.
For them. Because they're down some safeties too, if I recall.
Safeties, I actually think there might be the only spot they're healthy at. They're
corners.
It's
corners.
Kyer Elam played like 80% of the snaps and had a
Yeah.
pick, which, Mason Rudolph, shout out. But I mean, it is a defense that, again, I think the front 4 is in better shape than Miami's was, but everything else is in pretty rough shape. Anything else on the offensive side before we let Tucker talk a little bit here in the middle, and then we go to the defense? Because I think defensively is maybe the biggest story of this game.
I have one very quick inside the locker room story to share about a specific offensive player.
Can't wait.
Are we ready?
I'm so ready.
Now, this is a rare occurrence, ladies and gentlemen. But, I go from one side of the locker room to the other. You're just going back and forth, offense, defense, because they separate the guys based on their position groups. In the corner over there is Harrison Butker, Tommy Townsend, James Winchester. Everybody else is offense or defense. So, sort of going backwards. And I go, oh. And I quoted him in the story, which you can read on The Athletic. But, it looks to me like Donovan Smith is dressed and he is ready to talk. Okay. Hadn't talked to him in a while because he obviously had his neck stinger injury that took him out the last 5 weeks. Okay. Let's go to Donovan Smith. Donovan, what was it like out there? Was it cold? I mean, that's basically how every interview started in the locker room. Hello, Trent McDuffie. Was it cold?
It's like every interaction during cold snaps in Minnesota. By the way, still cold out there?
Hey, Justin Reed, talk us through how cold it was. And I was just like, all right, guys, I get it. Where's the football questions? That's why I'm here. Okay, we got through the football questions. Donovan Smith still sweaty, but he just got out of a sauna of a shower, I'm assuming. And all right, man, all right, he's got the towel. He's ready to go. Okay, we talked about the coat. Well, what do you know? Is that someone on my left shoulder coming? Whoa. And this is a rarity, kids. Andy Reid walked back into the locker room. And this was the quote. Extended his right hand, to which Donovan Smith, in the middle of an interview, paused, extended his right hand. There was a handshake. Andy Reid to Donovan Smith, quote, I'm proud of you, man. Great job. And then he points to me. Make sure you get that in there.
Man.
And then he walks off. And I said, sure, coach.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that sounds good, coach.
Now, for a writer, kind of hard to write that in there when there's so many other things going on in the game.
Oh, no, it's just, Coach Andy Reid, proud of left tackle Donovan Smith. Some coaches still know how to lead a franchise. Something like that.
Something like that. But
Hey, Seth,
it
maybe
wouldn't
stick
have-
to film.
it wouldn't have flowed, is all I'm getting at. I know there are multiple people in the Chiefs organization who listen to this podcast, and we thank them and we appreciate them. So I'm assuming one of those people will inform Andy Reid that I did give this anecdote and that I did get it in there. It's in the podcast, Coach. But it was quite a moment for Andy to come back into the locker room and point out a guy who had not played again in 5 weeks, who played pretty well given the circumstances, and not having Wanya Morris, not even having his backup, because obviously he was still in the concussion protocol. So, look, this is why they signed him all the way back in, I believe, April or May after the draft. And for that game, he gave them very good production. So it was a fascinating detail for Andy Reid to walk up to Donovan Smith and say that, and then again, use his right index to point at me. Make sure you get that in there. Now, it wasn't like mean or malicious. It was just very noted. You get that in there now. yeah.
Two things. First
Yes.
of all, that we turned that into the social video from this episode today, and that's going to go around. More people are going to see it. Andy Reid's going to be even happier with you, Nate. This is layers on layers, which goes to the thought that, hey, yeah, whoever listens to this show from inside those walls at Arrowhead, make sure Andy Reid knows that Nate mentioned the Donovan Smith story. Don't feel like you have to tell him about the whole Dick Cheney thing. And just like the whole time Nate was like, does it have to be Dick? Like, you could skip. You don't have to tell anybody about that part and then say the story. But you know what the D in Tucker D. Franklin stands for? Tucker Dick Franklin, go ahead and tell us about our great friends at DraftKings. It also stands for DraftKings. What's up, Tucker?
Hi, Josh. I appreciate the intro, as always. And DraftKings Sportsbook, you know them as an official sports betting partner of the NFL and an official sports betting partner of the NFL playoffs. They're bringing you an electric offer that'll make the playoffs electrifying. New customers can bet $5 on any game and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Early looks at the Chiefs-Bills line. Chiefs are dogs. Patrick Mahomes, dog on the road, 2.5-point underdogs as they travel to Buffalo. If you want to get in on that action, you got to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code KCSN. New customers can bet just $5, get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code KCSN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Back to you, Josh.
There's a lot of good stuff in the comment section today. I know it made at least me and Seth laugh because he already highlighted it in the comments from Nick just saying, I wish my dad would say he's proud of me. That's really good. Adams, did anybody bring a St. Bernard with a little whiskey barrel to the post-game presser to warm people up? That would have been so welcomed, I'm sure. Devin says, make Andy happy again. That's pretty good. So,
and by the way, Cal
Tucker sad read.
Say it softer, Tucker.
Yeah, Cal Coffee asks, Andy never comes back into the locker room at all, right? Correct. He rarely does that. That's how big of a win it was for the team. And yeah, I mean, you know, you might get that on like hey, we clinched the division. You might get that if someone had like an amazing performance. But yeah, that's one of those rarities where coach comes back into the locker room while the reporters are in, and he sort of just it's just, in some ways he kind of becomes like a just a observer, honestly. And yeah, he made that decision. So me and coach have had quite the dynamic year, I would like to say. But again, I'm sure somebody from the organization will get that across. Now, Seth, what is the equivalent? I've been thinking about this and holding this question in as we transition to the defense. You know, as someone who leans on you for many advice
Feeling kind of irrelevant right now.
I can't look at Josh while you talk. We can't do this show.
Why?
live.
Why?
Why? You
What
can't look at
happened?
me when Nate talks?
No, just the look on your face because I was doing a text and Nate started doing a text. God, I'm so
Yeah, you were definitely listening to your phone, and then Nate started hosting and asking you a question, and I got very self-conscious, like, well, what do I even do here? I wasn't at the game.
Just the
No.
look on your face.
I just want
can't
No,
do this,
Nate, you're
man.
doing a great job. That's the problem.
No,
I
Nate,
just-
you're on.
as we
Like, do you think that Pacheco gets a little annoyed when he sees Mahomes running with the ball? He's like, "You're doing that too? Like, I can do that at least. You're Patrick Mahomes."
or he's like, thank God. Oh,
Angry drunken German gives us the segue we need. He says, "Yep, time for the guys to go over the D." So yeah, go ahead, Nate.
yeah. So as we rise on the defense, Seth, what is the equivalent from a lawyer perspective of? All right, I know he about to do this motion. Hold on. If this was back in the day with clients, hey, okay. Look, now what I'm thinking is, in this situation, he might do a certain motion. Okay, now I'm not sure what validity it has to it, but like this is just kind of procedural, and he's just kind of being a dick. So you're just gonna have to sit through it.
Whoa, language.
That is
Nate.
every time you prepare anyone for cross-examination.
Yep.
Look, here's the deal. It's gonna feel
It's
personal.
gonna be stupid.
They're gonna try to rattle you. They're just doing a job. They don't actually hate you. It's gonna feel argumentative. Do not start to argue with the lawyer. Say yes or no.
And move it
I
and
will
keep it
handle-
moving.
I
Yes.
will handle redirect. If you think that they
Yes.
scored a point, let me take care of it. Let me be the lawyer. And the people you're advising that your witnesses follow that advice like
20%
half
of the time.
Sometimes it depends on how mean you are. I've gotten meaner the longer I've practiced. Where
Hey,
it's like,
how about that?
I actually had a judge give me when I was doing defense work. The judge was in the middle of talking about something my client may or may not have done. And he started to like speak up in the middle of it. And I actually made a noise like, hurry! Like I was talking like one of my kids. And I like whispered, you shut your mouth right now or I swear to God I will resign in front of the judge. and like, and he just, and he was a nice guy overall. So that the judge after was like, I didn't know you had that in you, Mr. Keysor. And I was like, Your Honor, I don't know what you're referring to. I coughed a little and I apologize. So yes, that's the equivalent of that.
So what is the equivalent of a motion that goes from too high to single high back to, did they just rotate 360 to too high? What the hell are you doing as a lawyer? What are you doing?
That is one of my, I think I finally, once I had, so the person that initially tweeted the dots of that motion just did it like a chant, spag, 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 spags. And what I think I tweeted when I finally got the all 22 and quoted, I think I tweeted, Spags is a psychopath. Like, what kind of psychotic thing is that to do? Tyreek Hill starts to run his go and you can see him like slow up looking like, what the bleep are they doing? Like, what? It's so funny. I have never seen that. I'm sure it's happened many times, but like you said, it doesn't. I do think it served a purpose, but you can disguise your motion just with like a normal back and forth movement.
A hinge.
A hinge, as opposed to a clock. Like this is not necessary. And that
I thought it was
really is
disrespectful that they held hands and then just spun around like two kids on a playground. Just
Whoa. Yeah. For the next play, they had George Karlaftis throw Drew Tranquil at the quarterback. It was so funny. And I like seriously, that's a great analogy though, where it's like, man, he's just being a jerk right now. But it was such a psychotic thing to do. But it also did serve a function, sort of. Not doing it that way. That was just mean-spirited. And I've used that term when practicing
the
law.
throw was there. Like
The throw was there.
Well, the receiver was there.
Yes.
No,
But the quarterbacking, but it's still, I think my
it was
point
all
is,
up in his head.
yes, I think my point is like, this is one of the few times I'm going to disagree with Mitchell Schwartz, who I love and adore. But Mitchell was like, it didn't affect anything. And I'm like, no, Mitch. No. His first read's Tyreek Hill.
And why? because they
And-
showed single high man.
Yes. And they both short circuited literally at the same time.
Right
Now
And-
give credit to Tua, who was like, okay, I'm gonna go from okay. So okay, oh holy shit, are they running single high? Okay, Green Haiti hot. He looks up. What the hell? No.
and he didn't freak out. He went to
Well,
his next read.
that is literally what he does. He said, no. Get to the other side of the field. Oh my God, he's open. Charles Bennett's gonna eat me.
So, his brain, it should not take an NFL quarterback 3 full seconds to go from 1 read to 2,
Yes.
even if it's to the backside. And that's what happened, is his brain stopped working.
For like
He was
half a
just
second.
He was
Yes.
like, oh man, I can't believe they're giving me single high man with Tyreek.
In the middle of the field.
He motions the running back to the left side of the field to just completely leave. Oh, I'm going to leave him all alone. Which, by the way, it is still L'Jarius Sneed. And like, you can't rule out the idea that he might just actually execute a hip toss and start punching Tyreek while he's on the ground. Because it's that Louisiana Tech. We talked about this.
Yeah.
When Jamar Chase acted like he wanted the smoke. No, he
No,
doesn't.
you don't.
There's
No, you
way
don't.
He does. There's no way. Which, by the way, shout out to Tyreek Hill for having a sense of humor.
Yes.
But
yes.
Yeah.
But he thought he had the look he dreamed about in this game. And so when that all fell apart, it took him a solid second. And a second in the NFL is an eternity to kind of reassess and get back to their side. And the receiver, I think it was Jalen Waddle, to his credit, he won against man coverage because it was basically 2-man. There's two deep safeties.
Yes.
And he won I think he ended up against Justin Reed, which is not an ideal matchup.
Yes. It's based on them splitting.
Yep.
Basically, them splitting or going over one another on the route concept and then cutting inside, which leaves kind of the rover that Justin Reed is supposed to be kind of out leveraged because he thought he was going to go wide and then he cut
Yep.
and then he cut across his face.
And he had to leverage one direction or another because Jalen Waddle, and he's quick. He's
Correct.
way too fast.
Yes.
So there's a couple problems there. Is that yes, he was open for sure, but the problem is it took 3 seconds, actually like 3.5 to get there. And in the meantime, Charles Omenihu is just walking that guard just right into your lap, and you're trying to make a throw and you can't, because in the meantime the edge pressure was getting there too, and that's why it was overthrown. So to say two things can be true at the same time.
Yes.
It can be true that he made a throw towards an open receiver and the coverage fooled him and it affected the play. It was just such a psychotic thing to do, though. Like, I'm just curious when Spags drew that up, if Edwards and Connor looked at him and like Connor's like, Edwards is a veteran, and Connor like says to like Edwards like, is this normal in the league, man? Edwards like, no, man. It's like, so it was so much fun to watch. I think I took a poll on Twitter, and I think people want me to write about Spags, and that's one of the plays I'm going to write about. And then there's just a few other times he just shifted the look so often, and then other times he just lined up like this is high school cover 2. And that's exactly what they ran. Where like nobody moved a muscle pre-snap, and you could just see Tua was just.
It's got to be like the scene in a horror movie where nothing is happening and it is mortifying. Where it's just like,
yeah, well, no, and
no
it's just-
door has gotten broken down in 10 minutes. No one's gotten shot. No one's had a finger chopped off. What? This looks like high school cover 2. What's happening? Okay, it was just cover 2. On to the next, I guess. That feels like that was the pattern.
Yeah, it was the last 20 minutes of A Quiet Place 2.
From Colby in the comments had maybe my favorite comment of this whole day. That's of course been very phallic in the comments today. Tucker Donovan Smith, I'm proud of you, Franklin. That's what the D and Tucker D Franklin stands for. It stands for Donovan Smith, I'm proud of you. Colby, that's really funny.
That's really good.
This is reductive about the defense. I'm glad that you guys went straight to that little rotation and that psychosis and all of that, because it is so emblematic of how it felt like that game was going and what Spags did. Somebody else earlier on said he didn't unzip. He dropped Trout. That game was like tearaway pants. Just you could hear the button snapping.
Yes.
But here's again a kind of a reductive but incredible thing. The Chiefs defense allowed one impactful offensive play in this game. Literally exactly one consequential Miami Dolphins offensive play. And it was an unfortunately bad rep for Trent McDuffie. And it was Tyreek Hill doing something that almost nobody else in the sport is turning into 7 points.
Right.
And that was literally it. This was a 30-0 football game that had one play of Tyreek Hill bailing out Tua on an underthrow and then housing it. That's unbelievable in terms of playing the results of, a defense that's been chasing shutouts this year and the times they've gotten really close or whatever. They were one play away from shutting out the Dolphins, and that's not the side of the ball that was banged up all week and that has been falling apart over the last month. They held the Dolphins offense to virtually uselessness with one Tyreek Hill exception. That's amazing.
And the stat that I think needs to be really accentuated here or emphasized is, look, it's hard to do because they have Devon Achane, they have Raheem Mostert, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. Yes, all those guys are banged up, but it's January. Everybody's banged up to some degree, but they're out there, and obviously they're very skilled. Josh, they had. Let me just double check.
Go and double check
real quick. They had no snaps in the red zone. 0.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
They had no snaps in the red zone.
It feels impossible.
Impossible. So yeah,
we didn't talk about the Chiefs in the red zone earlier. We might get to some of that on Thursday. We'll decide
Thursday. Yeah.
That is. It feels like the Chiefs had 100 snaps in the red zone.
Right.
Like 8 of them.
Right. Yes. So look, Tua is human, okay, and he's my height, and he's just trying to get through the season, guys. He doesn't want to have another concussion. We all know about his injury with head injuries. His history, I should say, with head injuries. And look, he got to the finish line, and he deserves massive credit for that because that is one of the biggest question marks for him going into the season. He also had all of his weapons, and the Chiefs realized he can't throw the ball past 15 yards.
Well, because he was wearing a sweatshirt underneath his jersey. Either that or like 3 layers of long underwear. You can't, rookie mistake. You can't move as well when you wear that many layers.
Didn't Brady solve this with the wetsuit?
Pretty
I thought
much.
we had solved this.
Yes.
I thought Brady wearing the wetsuit was just going to be the thing that quarterbacks did for the rest of time.
Be like water. Get in there. Dive in. Flow with it. Let it flow through you. Let it flow through you.
Seth, I don't know how many comments will have to corroborate this before you do believe me, but that was Brady's cold weather move. He wore a wetsuit under his stuff.
Scuba
That
gear.
makes sense. I could see that.
When I swam with manatees, I was wearing a wetsuit that
That's
kept
right,
me
baby.
from freezing my Dick Cheney off.
So,
Didn't
by
see
the
any
way,
manatees while I was in Florida. Just
the
on side.
commenters are in playoff mode because
Really good stuff today. I'm
One
really
Dick
proud of y'all.
Cheney and we were in shambles over here. Post Spags Dick Clarity.
It says D clarity, man. You didn't have to add
No,
that.
I had to. I mean, I know what it means.
Let's just
So
replace all that subtext with giant text.
I know what it means. I know what the D means. It sounds like an old grandmother. I know what you ladies are talking about. You didn't think it was hard back in my day?
What?
I don't know. So, with everything said, with everything said, they didn't have a touch in the red zone. Didn't have a touch in the red zone, and they realized Tua couldn't throw it deep accurately. And Spags sort of adjusted to that. Keep an umbrella over him, and yeah, it's just incredible that Nick Bolton, immaculate performance. Leo Chanel, how dare you run on first down on my watch? Seth said about Tershawn Wharton. Tershawn Wharton becoming a legitimate rotational guy again, further away from his ACL injury. Charles Omenihu basically looked us dead in our eye in the locker room and said, I didn't come here for divisions. I came for Super Bowls. And I was like, dog, the game been over. Game's been over. You ain't gotta say it like that. Game been over. We good? Okay. Woo. Chris Jones didn't have to do much because Chris Jones was devouring double teams. I mean, it was just and obviously everybody knows about it's easy to evaluate, I think, cornerback play when you can see it. When you can just be like, oh, Tyreek Hill was open, and then he wasn't. That's Trent McDuffie. Like, oh, you need 2 yards? Oh, you want to do a little rub? Great. Oh, you're open? No, you're not. No, you're not.
Man,
you're not open.
Trent McDuffie, it's a shame. He had a rough play on the ball. Tyreek made a Hall of Fame level play on him, which is unfortunate because some of the plays McDuffie made against the run, like I wrote about Nick Bolton, which, man, we didn't even get to him. Some of the plays McDuffie made to protect the edge, him and Snead both, those guys, there is no cornerback tandem like them in the league. There might be a cornerback tandem that's maybe as good in coverage. Maybe. That's tough. That is tough because they have such different skill sets. Like,
right.
McDuffie's physical, but Snead is just a brawler, and it's hilarious. But, like, they're both so good against the run. Like, everything they do is so good. And Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed were just so tough. I'm so excited to watch them take away Stephon Diggs' will to play football again.
You think that's going to happen?
I would be shocked if it didn't happen.
Okay.
Did you? I'm just saying. They're going to.
What yardage marker do you think he's going to be on the sideline of whenever he's watching the Chiefs celebrate after the game this year?
Come on, John.
They probably won't do confetti since it's in Buffalo, right?
They are going to have a clear game plan to try to adjust for what the Chiefs did in that first match.
Right.
You can never do the same thing twice. It's going to be funny when they're like, today we're actually going to have Trent shadow you instead or something weird. And just like, and what we're going to have L'Jarius actually do is spear Gabe Davis at the line of scrimmage and then actually do a jackhammer on him right there on the field. And because he's built the rep he has, the refs will let him do it. They will. The things most of it was legal, but there were a few times where you're like 7-8 yards down the field. He's just mauling guys. And it's like, yeah, a rep will allow you to do that. Richard Sherman got away with it for years.
Yep.
And so it was good. Also, Nick Bolton was great. Like,
yeah, you want to give us the elevator pitch real quick, Seth? You frankly, you broke my heart, but you wrote about something on the Chief of the North newsletter, mnchiefsfan.substack.com.
By the way, Drew Tranquil, still good. Still really good.
No,
still
really
good. It's
played
just
a really great game as well.
It's just Nick.
Hey, Nate, are you comfortable speaking on Willie Gay for 5 seconds? Or there's just been a lot of
sure.
Twitter confusion.
Let's do Bolton, and then I'll get to Gay.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Sure. So I wrote about Nick Bolton, and I wrote in the headline that Nick Bolton played his best game of the season and maybe his career against Miami. I think that's true. I think it was the best game of his career. People are going to talk about the Super Bowl. Look, please don't make me sound like a hater. Catching a fumble that you didn't force and running that in is not – it's a decent play. It's not a great play. He made great plays against Miami time after time, and not just against the run, because we talked about this last week. Stopping Miami starts with the run. You've got to protect the perimeter.
Yes.
And he was a huge part of that. The other thing that he did, multiple screen plays, multiple, dump-offs, short throws, he did a great job limiting some of those plays where Miami tries to grab extra yards after catch, not even letting them get started, and he did it in high leverage moments. Multiple third downs, multiple early downs where he got them behind the sticks. Bolton played an absolutely fantastic game, and you can read more about it on the Chief of the North newsletter.
Yeah.
So Nate, there was a tweet that popped off last night from Willie Gay, but understand, and hey, you know what? I'm actually glad that Chiefs fans are at a media literacy level to question, rightfully, what was going on here, because it's a new account from Willie Gay Jr. It's not verified, not that matters anymore.
Nope.
But this is the account that tweeted out the snowball video that made the rounds and all of that I don't think could have come out any other way. But But so I'll let you kind of validate. But the tweet from Willie Gay yesterday was, "It's looking like I probably played my last game in Arrowhead. Damn, I'm going to miss that place. Nothing like, let's go get this ring and end it the right way." And again, some people going, is this actually Willie Gay's Twitter account?
Yeah, we have no reason to think it's not. I've talked to a couple people. They believe it's legitimate. We're obviously looking forward to talking to Willie Gay, if not tomorrow, sometime during the week when the Chiefs are obviously practicing in preparation for the Buffalo Bills. But look, this is something that I also thought of earlier today, Josh. And again, as a reporter, I just want to get the facts straight, guys. Wow. Josh, do you know that we are less than 2 months from free agency?
That's crazy.
That's
nuts.
Everything moves so fast in this league. And yet the league season is entirely too long. We do not need 17 weeks. We don't need 17 games. We don't need 18 weeks. We definitely don't need 18 games, 19 weeks, which probably going to happen in a couple years. So please just expand the rosters. These dudes are tired. They're hurt. Can somebody in the PA get that across? Anyway, free agency begins on March 13th, kids. Willie Gay has representatives. Their job is to understand where he fits in the market should he reach the market. The only way he wouldn't reach the market is if the Chiefs signed him to a deal, which is likely not to happen. Or they would have signed the deal by now, or agreed to it, I should say. And they could obviously use a franchise tag, which they're not going to use that on him. And there's obviously the Nick Bolton part of all this, which is sometimes because you draft so well, you have to choose. It looks like the Chiefs are probably going to choose Nick Bolton with a contract extension over Willie Gay. Now, he has to know how his future looks when he might start a new chapter in 2 months' time. He has to. He has to know what his future could be. And the way it's trending likely leads him to think that he might have played his last game at Arrowhead. And we should commend and respect him being honest and willing enough to tell us that in a public format when the season's still going on. And obviously it's the most important game of their season is upcoming. Now, a player who went through a similar situation, and I said this on 610 earlier today, Josh, is the player that comes to mind to me in this way. He did not say it publicly, but there was an understanding that this was Juan Thornhill's last season. Juan Thornhill looked up and said, "Oh, they drafted him in the second round and he good? Yeah, I'm going to need to see what's out there on that market." Now, obviously, what Willie is trying to do is what Juan did. Play well in the postseason, help the team win a Super Bowl, maximize your earning potential, and go perhaps to the highest bidder that you think you can play at a very good to even better level than you showed earlier in the league. That is what Juan Thornhill did, signing with the Cleveland Browns. They had a very good defense. He did not play well on Saturday, and it was sad. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with Willie Gay, but Willie Gay has a clear indication, or he's able to understand that based on the business of football, he likely won't be back. And if he wants to tell you how he feels now, accept him at his word.
And Seth and I have already accepted that he's going to be a Pro Bowler with the Ravens or something, and that will be kind of hard for all of us.
It could definitely happen. You know, the Detroit Lions, the Chicago Bears, the Atlanta Falcons
Lions feel great.
Could all use an all-world athletic linebacker. Yes.
Yeah. And that it'll be interesting. I wonder, this is real. This is a conversation we can have in March, but I wonder if the Chiefs would have used that draft pick on Willie Gay, knowing exactly who he was and how he ended up fitting. And I wonder if some other team won't be thrilled to pay Willie Gay whatever they'll pay him just because of how he fits into a different team's vision. And I have no reason to think the Chiefs are regretful for it. It's worked out pretty well, and he's been a meaningful part of this defense. But it's an interesting match.
Yeah, and this is where the league gets diabolical, guys. It's designed for you to not succeed past a 2 to 3 year window. The Chiefs are on window 6.
Yeah,
they're in the sixth run of the Patrick Mahomes window. And again, the barometer has been the AFC Championship game. Yep. And again, every draft pick they've had has not been a premier top of the round pick, unless they've moved up, of course. And this is the price you pay when you draft well. You cannot retain everybody. So that's just the case. I mean, if they could have had Juan Thornhill on this team, they would have. Guess what? They drafted Shamari Connor, who looks pretty good. Even after they drafted, of course, Brian Cook, who had an amazing season before he got hurt in Green Bay, so as a first-time starter. So there's ramifications for all this. You kind of have to play at an all-pro level. And guess what, guys? They're getting all-pro production from L'Jarius Sneed. And guess what? This diabolical mechanism means we get to keep you on the team for another year.
It really is diabolical.
What did you say? Or we hamstring your ability to negotiate on the open market, but it gives us more time to get a deal done that benefits both of us. And that won't build any animosity. Just ask Chris Jones.
Well, on that dire note, that's as concerning and diabolical as that all feels. That's an hour. That's a show for us. We have done a very light amount of looking ahead to what we're saying and thinking about the Bills. And this is a Tuesday that we're doing the show right now. We'll be back on Thursday, so you're only going to be without us for one day. We'll have one day to get our thoughts together and to start hearing everything from Chiefs press conferences, all of that. Again, go read Seth's piece and why he thinks the Chiefs should make Nick Bolton the highest paid linebacker in the NFL this upcoming offseason. You can go read that at the Chief of the North newsletter, mnchiefsfan.substack.com. I don't think Seth was listening. And Nate's post-game story and everything else of his you can read over on theathletic.com. That it for everybody? Seth, you want to say anything about how you weren't listening and then Nate can get us out of here?
I don't understand how you and Jazz are the only two people that are so good at telling when I'm not listening. Although, to be fair, I don't mask it as well with you, I don't think.
Yeah.
No, seriously, there's like the similarities continue to grow. I'm going to start tilting my head a little bit, like when I'm talking to you, just like, if I imagine him without the facial hair.
Ooh, Nate, get me out of here.
So look, guys, it's been a wonderful time, and I'm gonna share with you my feelings. Right, it was a few weeks ago that I told you that I got emotional watching the Barry Sanders documentary, because I don't care what Walter Payton did, I don't care what Jim Brown did. I mean, I kind of do care, but they never made me feel the way I felt watching Barry Sanders play. And that documentary did a fine job of bringing me back into my nostalgic lane. I say this last week that when it ends so quickly. And to Seth's point, it ended for the Miami Dolphins the moment they tried to tackle Isaiah Pacheco. It ends so quickly. But on the other side is sitting on my couch Sunday becoming emotional for the Detroit Lions. And that's why the playoffs matter, man. They were crying in the stands. It's been 32 years. They chanted Jared Goff's name before he ever took a drop back.
It was nice to see.
I love this sport, and I love what the Lions were able to accomplish on Sunday. It's crazy that they get to turn it around and do it all over again next Sunday when Baker Bleepin Mayfield's going to walk into that stadium and probably make them incredibly nervous. But, like, that game was about the trade, and the trade was massive. And I think the benefit of Super Wildcard Weekend was it gave us those two matchups. Because without the 7th seed, which is absurd, without the 7th seed, we don't get the Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff trade, and we don't get the Tyreek Hill return to Arrowhead. And those are emotional games that make you feel things. Because when Tyreek caught the touchdown, I said, that looked awfully familiar. But to see the Lions get so emotional for Jared Goff, it was very reminiscent of, I believe, the 2015 season when, for years in the postseason wasteland, finally the Chiefs had the better quarterback on this day, and it was Alex Smith over Brian Hoyer. I believe.
Sounds close
Brian Hoyer. Now he got a nice little applause. He did the whole Premier League go off to the corner of the road stadium. But it makes you appreciate even the guys who are extremely talented And I'm just glad that Jared Goff got his moment. I'm glad Detroit got their moment. It had been 32 years, you know. It can go quick, or it could last another week. They get to play football for another week. The Detroit Lions have a chance to go to the NFC Championship. What? So I just wanted to share that. If you think of the emotion that was showed over this weekend, just imagine what that building's going to be like in Orchard Park. Because this is it. This is it for Buffalo. I love the emotion of playoff football, and I just wanted to express that because it's a great sport this time of year, and I just want everybody to stay healthy. But man, God, what a time! I mean, the D in Detroit just got through it. They got through it. They got through it.
We didn't talk about